Hello, my name is Linda Kadega. I'm a journalist for IO9. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm here with LeVar and Mica Burton.
Hello.
Hello.
I feel like there's communication going on here that I am on the outside.
Listen, Linda and I, we go way back via shared universes, shared trauma, shared universes. Yes, correct. All of the above. But they are great, so I'm very happy to be here with them today.
Well, I'm really excited to be here with you two. We do a section on IO9 called First Fandoms. So we want to know what your first fandom was.
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon, naturally.
Naturally. Absolutely. Or was it Pokemon? Oh no. I would say Sailor Moon was the first one I was involved in. Like I knew what Pokemon was, but I wasn't a part of the Pokemon fandom.
You had a Sailor Moon costume before you had, really gotten into Pikachu.
It's true. That is true. And I watched Sailor Moon every Monday after Oprah in my Sailor Moon costume.
As you should. Sounds perfect.
I guess my first fandom was Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cute. That's really wonderful.
It was, yeah.
Did you do anything related to that fandom? Did you ever go to meetups or cons?
No, fandom hadn't really progressed to that degree. This is the early 70s, right? It was like before the first Star Trek convention actually happened. And I got to watch all of that, and I've had the opportunity to see fandom grow and become what it is, where it's such a big part of content creation and storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense because other than Sherlock and John and anybody from vampire books and series, specifically Interview with a Vampire, Kirk and Spock is what spawned fan fiction as we know it today.
Right?
A little bit of fandom history for you.
Sherlock and John were like the first.
That was like back in the day.
Because there was like Sherlockians back in the early 1800s.
Who were shipping those two even then.
Yeah, and like writing fan fiction and submitting it to newspapers. And the newspapers would print that fan fiction. They were called pastiches back then.
It's true. Remember Cora and I, for my AP Lit class, did that as our final project. That was 50% of our grade, and we got 100% on it.
Nice.
It was the history of gay fan fiction.
Just gotta like compose myself because I have a lot to say.
That was my senior year in high school.
If I speak.
You two kill me. This is so cool.
This is what it's like, just being a nerd in this generation. When you are the elder nerds is what we are now. Been there since the dawn of Live Journal and what have you, you know. Zanga. Oh my.
Oh, we can't.
Yeah, we can't.
I would love to ask you guys some questions about working on Star Trek together.
That was fun.
It was awesome.
Ask away.
Awesome.
My first question, Mica, what was it like working with your dad on Picard?
This is actually my favorite question to answer because everyone will think, like, oh, joking. And I mean, yes, that did happen a lot. Just it wasn't me. It's because the Next Generation cast is just unhinged. So, usually I was trying to rein it in and be a professional. But it was really nice working with people that I felt so comfortable with because I did go to a conservatory school, so I take my profession very seriously. So when the cameras were rolling, it wasn't like I was working with my dad. It was like I was working with a fellow coworker. And I think that that's why it was so enjoyable because I didn't feel like, oh, I'm here with my dad and I'm like, oh, he's gonna judge me or I feel embarrassed. It was just like very natural to feel like I'm at work and then I have to be like, Brent, Dad, you have to roll. Stop talking. It's always those two.
Oh, you gotta crack down on them a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Add Jonathan in the mix, it's a nightmare. Tell me I'm wrong.
We can be a little rowdy.
The mark of a healthy, well-adjusted, and fun workplace.
That's so true.
I
think so.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
We pride ourselves on keeping it loose and fun.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are on one of the biggest sci-fi shows of all time. You got to do something to release the pressure a little bit.
Wow. I mean, when you put it like
I know, right?
Sorry, guys.
Sorry. I think it's one of those hammers that hasn't dropped for me yet when you say it's one of the biggest sci-fi franchises out, literally,
Ever.
point blank period.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's, as we talked about earlier, we both grew up in this world, you know? It wasn't like we in our later lives stumbled upon how Star Trek was big. We both always knew how big Star Trek was, which I think maybe for me at least, it made it less intimidating to come into this world, because I was like, I know what's up. I've seen a convention.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
I know what's going on.
LeVar, why was now the time to return to Trek?
Terry Matalas.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he really is, and his love of Star Trek and Next Gen in particular is in every frame, on every page of all of the scripts. So it was really, his stewardship of this season that really got all of us involved. His ideas for character, his openness to what we wanted to bring to the table in terms of who are these people now as opposed to the last time we saw them. That's how, Geordi got daughters, right? It was really important to me to sort of rehabilitate Geordi's canon, in as much as the tired trope of the nerd is awkward around women. I consider that, in Booby Trap, Geordi was stalking Leah Brahms, and that's not okay.
Not ideal.
No, it's not.
That's uncomfortable.
Yeah, very.
Oh.
Very. So this was really important. I mean, and what I shared with Terry was, I want Geordi to have a family, and he took it that next step further, right? This was his idea.
But we did have to cut that line of you spiking the lens and going, I swear I'm good with women, to rehabilitate. Sorry, I can't not mess with you. I'm so sorry. It's so hard. I can't be serious.
There is an upside to doing interviews with your daughter, and there is a not so up.
What?
So,
I don't know what
This
that
is
would
delightful.
be. Thank you. Right? You hear that?
Delightful.
Delightful.
Mica, do you think you're more like Alondra when it comes to your dad, or is Sydney more like?
I think, hilariously, I'm a healthy mix. Because Ashley, who plays Sydney, and I actually had this conversation with Will on
Will Wheaton?
Will Wheaton on the Ready Room. Alondra is clearly following in her father's footsteps. Sydney is the pilot, clearly not following, but she feels almost like she's in her father's shadow and is doing this to get out of her father's shadow, but at the same time wants his approval, unlike the sister who she feels already has the approval as the engineer and the youngest and is with him. And I think that almost kind of mirrors my journey to even be here with you today, because I started my career going, I don't want to be LeVar Burton's daughter. I want to be Mica Burton. I want to have my own name. I want to do my own thing. I was steadfastly a Star Wars child, and I'd never seen an episode of Next Generation or any Star Trek at all.
Until the intervention.
Until the intervention. But the intervention didn't help. They made me watch the Renaissance episode. Thank you.
I love the Renaissance episode.
It's good in context, though.
You have to appreciate
it.
You have to appreciate it before you can really.
And also, coming from my point of view, who already thought it's weird to see your family on screen looking like they're from the 80s, then add tights, it was weirder. So my friends tried to give me an intervention, and it ended up making it worse. I think if they showed me like a good old Friendship Wins episode of Star Trek, I would have been like,
or Tribbles episode.
or anything with Tribbles. No. They decided to show me my father in tights and Uncle Michael holding a lute. So
No, that was me.
Oh, you were holding the
I
lute.
was
He
hol- he
smashed your
smashed
lute.
the
That's
lute.
what it was. See, I
Yeah.
paid attention, kind of. But because of how I grew up, I was very much Sydney in that way. But now that I have my own fandom, he has his own fandom, and I've proven to not only the public but myself that I can do this on my own. Now I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I love being a part of it with him. I love being the Alondra now and being a part of the Star Trek family and being a LaForge. But I think that 10 years ago me, even 5 years ago me, it wasn't time, you know.
A journey to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm a lot like, I think, Alondra in this, because or like Sydney, because all my family's engineers, and then I'm a writer.
Wow, you really left brain, right brain there.
I know, I really did. Like, they're all like civil engineers, electrical engineers, and then I'm just like, I want to be a writer.
Well, I have to interject because, you know, it's easy to forget, but in the first season of Next Gen, Geordi piloted the ship. Geordi was the pilot.
That's true, he was.
So I don't consider that Sydney has flown that far afield, right? I think she found a place where she felt comfortable. Yeah. But it's really the pressure of being the child of a legend like Geordi that brings the conflict.
Yeah, a little pressure.
I mean,
a little bit of pressure being the child of Geordi LaForge. Just a smidgen.
a little. My father was also a nerd, as you can probably guess, and he loved reading to me. So I wanted to just thank you for reading Rainbow. Deeply impactful for me as a small kid, and really, really important to me on a lot of levels. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank your dad.
I will. Yeah, I don't think that he should have read Lord of the Rings to me from ages like 2 to 6, but he did.
We read Series of Unfortunate Events way before I should have. We played GTA when I was 5. I think the good ones get it early.
What can you do?
You know?
Look, I wanted to connect with my kid. What can I say?
Yeah.
So we started with reading and then progressed to video games.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider.
We love Tomb Raider. Definitely
right?
shouldn't have been playing Tomb Raider that young, but I was. Fighting Force, that was fun.
Yes.
Yes, we love Tekken, Soul Calibur, that was our thing.
Right.
Classic PlayStation.
So we have a couple props here, and I wanted to know, what is the strangest Star Trek merch you've ever seen or signed? Strangest you've signed is probably going to be pretty
Well, it
funny.
wouldn't be merch.
Ooh.
I've signed mammary glands. And
Oh, boobs.
yeah.
Got it. Just say that.
Okay, I've signed boobs.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
And that's not merch. Is
No,
it?
that's not merch. Well, it can be. You know what?
Stop.
Never mind.
Yep,
Stop.
we're moving on.
Okay.
Moving on.
Next question, perhaps.
Reel that one in.
Will we ever get through this interview?
Never.
I'm so sorry. So Mica, with Critical Role returning to Isidern,
Yes. I wish.
is Rihanna coming back?
She's not, but I can guarantee you she's out there, very concerned, very upset that her friends have once again probably have something to do with this. I think she's probably too busy, you know, out fighting crime, being awesome, but she's like, when I see them next, I'm gonna kick their butts.
Yes,
For
smart.
getting into more trouble.
So I know that you're in a Vampire the Masquerade.
Yes, I was a part of LA by Night. That was very fun.
Do you have any other games that you would love to play as like an actual play podcast?
Call of Cthulhu. I've never done a
Ooh.
Call of Cthulhu game.
Okay.
And I also would love to get back to any Vampire by Night game because there's just something so fun about not having to pretend to be a good guy. D&D, you know, you're always like trying to save the world.
Right.
Vampire the Masquerade, you're just trying to eat people.
You're just trying to live.
It's just great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good. Thank you guys both so much for this interview.
I'm Mica, and this has been LeVar, and you guys can watch Season 3 of Star Trek Picard. It already aired on February 16th, and it is now airing on Paramount+. You can also get a free 30-day trial of Paramount+ if you enter code Picard, so make sure you go and check it out, and you can find me everywhere at Mica Burton.
I'm LeVar Burton. You can find me at LeVar Burton on Twitter and LeVar.Burton on the gram.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check out more Ionine videos here on YouTube.